Once again, I can't help but notice that the center of the Clone Wars episode, or arc, I should say, is all about political and financial intrigue. Although there's some personal stuff, so I guess we can tolerate the actually uninteresting story arc. I find myself wondering if the stoolies in the bank have always been doing this nuking of the records problem on Palpatine's behalf, or if the banking clan really was basically self-destructing for the reasons I mentioned last time, and then he just decided to take advantage of this. I don't know. I'm very curious about that. Notice that Palpatine is just being full-on Palpatine again. He questions whether or not this thing that he has arranged to happen is true. Then he has multiple people vet it, ensuring that they can. And then once he is suitably satisfied that he's not being lied to, he demands that they go into investigate it personally. What I'm trying to say here is that he goes way out of his way to ensure that he is actually one of the biggest obstacles to the thing that he wants to happen goes forward. An excellent method of manipulation. Speaking of which, I know there's plenty of other places I can mention this, and obviously what happened to Abercrombie was not good, but I just have to praise Tim Curry. The man really is amazing in general, but also as Palpatine. He just nails it. He knows how to sound warm and kindly and just incredibly horribly evil. I love it. Notice Anakin really starts to go overboard in this episode. And I mean, obviously, duh. But what I mean by that is, even before anything else happens, he actually says, "As your husband, I demand!" And she actually gets legitimately angry. Probably the first time she gets actively, violently angry with him about this. And Anakin, of course, is so messed up that even Obi-Wan is noticing. Notice he's working. He's fixing things. Very nice touch, because they don't call attention to that. But anybody who knows Anakin and has paid attention knows that I always feel better when I fix things. Things make more sense when I'm repairing stuff, you know? So, obviously, that's what he does to go and unwind. I have a feeling he's been doing that a lot over the last several years, not only for the Clone Wars, but during his time at the Jedi Order. So Obi-Wan, they're so similar. Obi-Wan tries to console him, mentioning the Satine thing. The problem is Anakin shuts it down immediately. So Obi-Wan responds by reciting dogma. This is what must happen, the end. Anakin says, "Yes, I know that's what must happen, the end." And Obi-Wan says, "Okay, then. Then there's no problem, is there?" Okay. I sometimes wonder the exact moment at which Obi-Wan put two and two together with regards to Anakin and Padme. I really do. He's not stupid. But I've always suspected that he has at the very least kept quiet about it for long enough to have been lying to the Jedi Council about it. Lie through omission, refusing to own up to what he knows to the Council. Covering for Anakin's back, in other words. Because I think Obi-Wan would do that. You know? Just my impression. So then, of course, she mentioned several times, it's just business, it's just business. And then she wears this extremely form-fitting outfit with her shoulders exposed. I mean, she can wear whatever the hell she wants. That's the thing. But I would think that for someone who is in this circumstance, maybe she should wear something a little bit less that. I'm just saying. So then Clovis, Anakin comes in. Clovis pushes too hard, and Anakin finally, for arguably the first time, really loses it, just completely and utterly goes full tilt. Now I have to admit, well, that was a very devastating and actually, frankly, terrifying scene to watch as Anakin basically pummels a civilian almost to death with his bare hands. There was one bit which just made me laugh a lot. He comes in, shoves him to the wall, and pulls out his lightsaber, and Clovis says, "Oh, ho, ho, you wouldn't be able to do that without all your Jedi tricks." And I just started laughing. I'm like, "Oh, you have no idea." And of course, the very next thing Anakin does is put away his lightsaber and just beat the crap out of him. So, Clovis, of course, kind of serves as a parallel to Obi-Wan here, someone who knew Padme enough to recognize that there was something between Anakin and Padme, just like Obi-Wan notices it as well. Both of them kind of push that it shouldn't be, but for different reasons. Obi-Wan's still kind of, I'm on your side, but not really, let's kind of make this work, whereas Clovis is obviously trying to move a wedge in there so he can slide in. But the interesting part is that Clovis, after pushing as hard as he can and nearly dying, finally reaches the point. Anakin actually just recognizes what he's doing, and he just it clearly bothers him how far overboard, how much control he lost there. And Clovis actually covers for him. That I found very interesting. But it made so much sense. After all, Clovis would understand personally why Anakin would be that angry, why he would go that far overboard. Because Clovis is speaking from the same perspective. Someone who loves a woman who is being jilted by that woman. And that's what he perceives is going on with Anakin. And he did provoke him, after all. So he decides to let it slide. And Anakin is almost uneasy to let that go. He's just like, yeah, if that's what the man says. Like you could tell, because Anakin's not exactly a good liar. This brings me to the crux part of this episode. Now, obviously, anyone who's seen the prequels knows this breakup isn't going to last, but honestly, I'm surprised it's taken this long to happen. As I've pointed out before, Anakin and Padme at this point in time don't have a relationship. And this is just her recognizing that. Because that's one of the two major problems here. They have a foundation of lies, like she herself says. They can't have what other married couples have. They don't have the connection or the personal interactions or the openness or the love or any of the things that are supposed to exist in a loving marriage. And that bothers her. And it bothers him, too. The two of them have not had a chance to truly grow together in the way that they both want to. And she is quietly afraid of Anakin. And she should be. Not because of Darth Vader or any future thing, but because Anakin has a tremendous amount of self-control problems. Nah, I'm saying that wrong. Let me retry that. Anakin has instinctual violence and darkness in him. Now, I'm going to use a weird quote here, okay? But I really want to make this point as hard as I can, because screw the Jedi Order. The Jedi Order insists that you conquer fear, that the Jedi have no need for fear, because fear leads to the dark side. But anyone who has any understanding of reality will tell you that that is a flawed concept at the beginning, because it is not the removal of fear that is what should be done. It is the ability to withstand and not be affected by fear. Bravery is not being unafraid. Bravery is being afraid and still doing. And this is the greatest flaw of the Jedi Order. They preach removal rather than withstanding. So none of their students have the ability to have the tools in their arsenal, emotionally or mentally, in order to be able to understand darkness, anger, violence, envy, jealousy, hatred, any of those other dark emotions that are within them. They're just told, those are bad, don't feel them. And so Anakin has no tools in his kit to deal with this. And this is now the second step here. The first was with Ahsoka, the second is with Padme. He is now at the point where he just can't actually process this, and it's starting to really cause issues with those that he cares about most. And it's worth noting that I'm not completely on Anakin's side here. The man just went into a violent rage out of jealousy. He has an issue here, and he was also trying to be controlling towards her, towards Padme, of all people. Does he not know his own wife? This woman is a senator who is the kind of person who led the charge into her own castle, gun in hand. You know, in many ways based on the ideas of Leia, who was also a total badass. So you can't tell me that this is the kind of woman who would take kindly to, oh, you know, you should be safe and you shouldn't do this because I'm telling you to. Bull crap! She puts herself in danger all the time. And she's good at it. And that's the point. So then Dooku effortlessly infiltrates. I found something about that funny. And, you know, Clovis is like, sure, I'll take over the banking clans. And then he gets the support of the Moon, the support of the Separatists, the support of the Senate, and yay, he did it. Wow, that has to be the smoothest and easiest power transition I've ever seen. It probably helps when everyone on every side is all supporting you because, well, they all claim the same pawn, if you will, to quote Legacy of Kain. I just was playing through that game. Please forgive me. And then there's this really great scene where Palpatine is once again at his Palpatiniest because Anakin is there, and he's just like, I don't know. I don't trust him. I think this is the wrong thing. And Palpatine says, "Oh, Anakin, just because I publicly endorse him doesn't mean I privately trust him." And Palpatine says exactly what Anakin needs to hear. It's okay. I understand. I believe you. In fact, I'm on your side. But things are more complicated than that, so we need to make sure that we have the proper evidence in order to get into this situation when whatever's really going on comes to light. So I need your, and the implied statement there is, because he says we need to keep an eye on this to make sure things don't go badly. The implied statement is, you're going to need to help on this too. As ever, Palpatine feeds right into Anakin there and basically just has him eating out of his hand. I've often wondered if there's a legitimate friendship of any kind on Palpatine's behalf between Palpatine and Anakin. I know a lot of people have disagreed with that over the years, and indeed, the very writers of the series have disagreed on that, so it's totally up in the air as far as I'm concerned. But it's interesting to see how far he's willing to go to be on Anakin's side, even in circumstances where it might otherwise destabilize his political situation and manipulations. Anyways, good episode. We'll see where it goes next time.